I'm Stephen A. Hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show here with you on ESPN Radio. 250 plus markets across the United States of America, plus Sirius XM Channel 80. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Home Insurance. Getting a quote is easier than ever before. Number to call up as always is 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. You know, I'm going to reiterate the point that I was trying to make. Prominent NBA players, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Dwayne Wade, Carmelo Anthony, Chris Paul, have all been outspoken on various social issues, including some that don't particularly pertain to President Trump. I'm applauding them for that. I'm thankful. Don't get it twisted. But in this gorgeous mosaic that is the United States of America, when we talk about things that are inclusionary, it strikes me as a tad bit conspicuous that coaches are getting fired of African-American descent and you don't hear a word from the players. We've heard so many. Think about the stories we heard over the last year, y'all. LeBron James' house getting vandalized with a racial slur in June. If you remember, what did he say that day? Hate in America, especially for African-Americans, is living every day. This is the same LeBron James that also refused to stay in a Trump-owned hotel in December because of his feelings about the president, and I don't blame him. Last summer, Carmelo Anthony hosted a town hall in South Central Los Angeles that brought together the public and the police to talk about race. 2 seasons ago, James Wade, Kobe Bryant wore I Can't Breathe t-shirts in support of the Black Lives Matter movement during pregame warm-ups. And Derrick Rose and a whole bunch of guys around the league did the same thing. I am not insulting them in any way. I'm thankful, I'm grateful that they brought attention to these issues, using their cachet to do so. But have y'all noticed what's going on in the basketball association, in the NBA, in the National Basketball Association? You've got guys who are analytics dudes. And correct me if I'm wrong, Nuno. Correct me if I'm wrong, John. They're analytics dudes who basically are numbers crunchers, practically all of whom are white. And they look at one another and they hire one another. And the owners, I can't even knock them because guess what? They're comfortable. Owners are comfortable with numbers because their bottom line is the bottom line. And if you got somebody that can come to them and point to revenue and say, hey, this is what comes to the table with it. If you see somebody that can do that for you, God bless you. So what am I ultimately pointing to? I'm pointing to the need for more diversity within the ownership ranks, the decision-making ranks. And that doesn't mean because you're an owner and you're an African-American or in the case of some of these guys. I mean, because when you look at minority ownership, I mean, Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan. He's the majority owner for the Charlotte Hornets. Vivek Ranadive is the controlling owner of the Sacramento Kings. Mark Lazary, who was born in Morocco, is an owner of the Milwaukee Bucks. He's the third owner of color within the National Basketball Association. And you got to take that into consideration and recognize they were the first 3 owners of color to lead their teams at the same time in any of the major professional sports leagues. So the NBA is ahead of the curve. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to give the impression that they're not. Nor am I trying to give the impression that because you're a black owner, that means you have to hire a black coach. Nonsense. I have no problem with Michael Jordan hiring Steve Clifford any more than I had a problem with him hiring Larry Brown, who I think should still be coaching in the NBA on some level, by the way, because no matter how old Larry Brown is, he still forgot more basketball than the rest of us know. What I am saying is that when you have diversity within the ownership ranks, it compels your contemporaries to entertain diversity. And that's how the engine gets started. You don't have to hire a white coach if you're a black owner, but you might hire a black GM. You might hire a black director of scouting or player personnel. You might do that. These are the kind of things that we have to pay attention to. These are the kind of things that are not being paid attention to. And what I'm saying is, if you are LeBron James and you got nearly 40 million followers on Twitter, and Lord knows how many on Facebook and Instagram, it'd be nice to hear you say something about this. Same applies to CP3. You are the president of the Players Association. Same applies to D. Wade. You are a future Hall of Famer. I mean, the list goes on and on. See, everybody talks a good game. And we talk about facing and embracing challenges that affect us as a society, and I applaud that. But if you ain't handling business within your own wheelhouse, what are you? You really think for 1 second that I want to sit here and talk about this? You really think that hosting a sports talk radio show, which is owned by ESPN, which means it's owned by Walt Disney, Mickey Mouse, you really think it's to my benefit to bring up these issues? Of course it is not. And it's not because folks don't want to talk about black issues or anything. It's because folks don't want to talk about issues. They want to talk about sports because you want to have fun, because you want a reprieve from what ails you in everyday life. But the problem is everything becomes intertwined. And there is no escape from reality. And I find it highly alarming that me, who is drop dead broke compared to those players and compared to most professional athletes, appears to have more courage. And I don't mean me literally. I mean people in my position. This is nonsense. These are the kind of things that I'm talking about. When you talk about heart, when you talk about guts, when you talk about standing firm and putting your behind on the line, any damn body can talk about an issue everybody's going to agree with them about. If there's killings in Chicago and the violence needs to stop, I appreciate their words at the 2016 ESPYs. I am grateful. But ladies and gentlemen, who the hell can disagree with that? Who's going to stand up and say, let the violence continue? Let folks kill one another. Who's going to say that? Of course no one's going to say that. You appreciate it, but it ain't courageous. And I'm not casting aspersions on any of those players. I'm cool with all of them. Well, actually, most of them. But my point to you is, that's what I'm saying. The power that people have. You complaining about a president. Is he getting impeached? What you have a problem with, is it going to get him impeached? If it's not going to get him impeached, you just whistling into the wind. Complaining about the latest thing. He don't care. You ain't doing anything. I was in Atlanta for the national championship game at the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium when Trump walked up in there. Yes, there was some boos. I promise you, at least 50,000 people were cheering for him. He don't care. You complaining about him, they ain't going to do anything. Now, if you talk about him getting impeached, you going to bring up some Russia investigation, some information or whatever, all right, that's fine. But you're going to speak up about him not inviting you to the White House, even though you had already said you didn't want to go? All right, that's fine. You're going to call him a bum? All right, that's fine. Where's it getting you? What difference is that really making? But you got cats here playing in a league where your voice is so profound, you even whisper about it to the commissioner and the NBA owners. It'll make a difference. I see nothing. I see absolutely, positively nothing. There's something that's not right about this picture. And damn it, ladies and gentlemen, somebody had to say something about it. So I just did. 888-729-3776. 888-SAY-ESPN. Back with more of the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio in a minute.
Hey there. there. I'm a glue stick, so I have one job. I glue kid stuff. So sorry for being jealous of Geico, who does a ton more, like give you 24/7 access to thousands of licensed agents. And Geico has been around for over 75 years and has a 97% customer satisfaction rating. While I've just got mediocre adhesive skills, Geico also has an award-winning mobile app. Uh-oh, arts and crafts time. No eating the glue stick. Miss Lydia!
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
The Stephen A. Smith Show is also brought to you by Pennzoil Synthetics, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. So make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. 17 minutes past hour number 2 back here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Number to call up is 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. We'll get into some Super Bowl talk in the days and the next week to come. I'm of the mindset that the Philadelphia Eagles could possibly win this game. I'm not ruling out the possibility that the Philadelphia Eagles could win the Super Bowl championship. Some things have to go in their direction. They can't let Tom Brady stand back and take pictures. But if Joe Thomas of the Cleveland Browns, who was a guest on First Take this morning, is absolutely correct, and the Eagles are able to apply pressure with Cox and Graham and those boys and Long and those boys, if they're able to apply pressure to Tom Brady with just 4 men, as opposed to 8 dudes in the secondary, it could be a long afternoon for Tom Brady in Minneapolis. It really, really could. I'm not trying to say I'm going to bet money on it, but I think it's important to point out. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Also, this story circulating about Dez Bryant and people questioning, what he brings to the table because Terrell Owens tweeted. And obviously his tweets resonate because he was talking about how Dez Bryant just needs to be a playmaker. And also how difficult it is because you got a guy in Jason Garrett who never thinks he's wrong. T.O. absolutely positively has an axe to grind. We all get that, but that don't mean he's wrong. That doesn't mean he's wrong. Let's keep that in mind. But let's also say this about Dez Bryant. Listen, he can still play. Make no question about that. Make no mistake about that. But Dez Bryant ain't worth $14 million. Dez Bryant ain't the player that he used to be. He can't go vertical the way that he used to. Opponents don't respect him the way they once did. He's still big time in the red zone, make no mistake about it. Still a big time threat. But the Cowboys need a vertical threat. Jason Witten is running like about a mile an hour. Look like a snail with arthritis. And snails don't have arthritis. The line ain't what it used to be. You had Ezekiel Elliott who wasn't there all year long. With Dez not being Dez and no real number 2 to point to, how are we going to blame Dak Prescott? When you really look at Dez, he can still play. He should be a Cowboy, but he ain't what he used to be. It's just that simple. You heard what I had to say about Kevin Love. You heard what I had to say about the Cavs. You also heard what I had to say about the conspicuous silence emanating from NBA players as it pertains to black coaches in a league that's 74.4% black. And 80.9% when you take in players of color, adding the international flavor to the mix. This is a problem. Let's go to the phones. 888-729-3776. My boy, Champ. Vegas, you're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Talk to me, man. Go ahead.
How you doing?
I'm good. Talk to me, bro.
You nailed it today about the black coaches. I mean, Jason Kidd is just the beginning. If you can go back in time, when Isaiah took over the Indiana Pacers back after 2000 season when we went to the finals,
okay,
he took a whole new basketball team, full of youth. He didn't get the opportunity to finish the deal. They gave the job to Rick Carlisle. What is a Hall of Fame coach? We hear that all the time. Think about this. Paul Westhead wins with the Lakers. Pat Riley didn't win 4 rings with Magic Johnson. Now he's considered a Hall of Fame coach. The Spurs was a playoff team, been to a conference finals. Popovich takes over, couldn't win 20 games. He gets Tim Duncan and a healthy David Robinson. All of a sudden now he's considered an all-time great. The problem is, in this profession, the NBA, the athlete has more say-so. The rest of the leagues with the NFL, college basketball, college football, the NHL, it's a white coaching league where the players don't have a voice. The players have a voice in the NBA. You would think, like you said, when LeBron making comments about Donald Trump, President Trump, you got LeBron making comments about.
Hey, Champ, are you there?
Highlighted.
Champ, no, Champ. You said LeBron making comments about Trump, and then my audience lost you. Go ahead.
Okay. He's highlighting all these things that was going on to society. But in his profession, the biggest thing that's going on is the lack of respect for the black coach. Kyrie Irving was on your show and named Brad Stevens a great coach in the NBA, and look at his playoff record. But here it is, Tyronn Lue comes back from 3-1 to win the NBA championship over 73-19, and now everybody's saying he does not know how to coach. This is the problem. Mark Jackson, he should be on the radar. When you watch the television shows, do they highlight the next great black coach? But when you watch the NFL, listen to Tony Romo over the weekend, he was talking about this guy's going to be the next great coach, this coordinator. You hear it throughout all these sporting casts. But you have guys with platforms that does not highlight the Jerry Stackhouses, who's down in the G League winning championships and have a great relationship with a lot of players in the NBA who should get considered for the next NBA coaching job. And I'm not saying all black guys should be NBA coaches, but it should be a responsibility to the guys that's playing the game that has positions, Jalen Rose, Paul Pierce, Chauncey Billups, Reggie Miller, and so on, that they need to sit out here and say, listen, we are qualified to be leaders of men, just like we are qualified to be great players in the NBA.
Champ, you do understand what you're saying, right? You understand that what you're saying is basically the NBA. It's almost damn near like you're saying the NBA needs a Rooney Rule.
100%. But listen, you have people in power that's able to speak up about it, that will send things across the world like, wait a minute, he's making a great point. Think about this before I get off. Rick Carlisle, Greg Popovich, Stan Van Gundy comes out and say, wait a minute, LeVar Ball, you killing Luke Walton. They doubled down on it. Where was Rick Carlisle, the president of the Players Coaching Association, the Coaching Association today, coming out and saying, how do you fire Jason Kidd with a player who's injured, calls him on the phone 15 minutes before he finds out? You telling me, where's Rick Carlisle today? Where's Popovich? Where's Van Gundy? And the last thing, Van Gundy been in Detroit for 3.5 years, same time as Jason Kidd in Milwaukee. His record is worse than J. Kidd, and guess what? He has full control for the Detroit Pistons, and you fired Joe Dumars to replace him with Stan Van Gundy, who's never won an NBA championship, and nobody in Detroit is holding him accountable. Now, you answer that for me.
That's a damn good point. I think Stan Van Gundy's a damn good coach, but that doesn't dilute the potency of your point. You make an argument when you consider what's transpiring around the league with other folks. Now, I will tell you that when Fizdale got fired, Rick Carlisle and others spoke up for him, but their voices resonated far more loudly when they spoke up on behalf of Luke Walton. Now, was that because of LeVar Ball, or was it because they were coming so strongly to the defense of a Luke Walton? That's the question.
Coaches and how they really feel. Because think about this.
Last point, go ahead. Last point.
Yeah, let's just flip it. We give Steve Kerr Golden State, and he has to build them up. And we hand the job to Mark Jackson 4 years later. Mark Jackson gets the credit, not Steve Kerr.
Appreciate the call, man. Thanks so much. It's Champ in Vegas, live with Stephen A. right here on ESPN Radio. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. More of your calls in a minute. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast. Damn it, I mean it!
Back to the calls we go. Let's go to Chris in L.A. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Stephen A., good afternoon. Real quick, I want to give Champ some props on that was a good call. I think that was well said with the what you guys had before the break on that conversation. But I want to jump in on this whole Cavs thing, Stephen A. Hey, real quick, I have a question for you. If you were a Cavs owner, what would you do to try to fix all of this?
First of all, I don't think I would have traded Kyrie because he had 2 years left on his deal. I'd have held on to him. That's number one. But number two, since the situation is what it is, I'd be looking to see what I could do for moving and packaging Isaiah Thomas along with a couple of other players to get me a big-time player. That's what I would do, because bottom line is that you're not looking to pay Isaiah. You want somebody up in there to join LeBron, and you want to see what you can pull off. And even if they elect not to want to stay, at least you'll have a tradable asset, a tradable commodity to pull off. That's number two. Outside of that, it's pretty uncertain what should be done because you just don't know what LeBron will do. And that's what makes it that much tougher.
All right. And that gets to my point. I want to say this. I know you're probably going to get on me for this. You're going to say sacrilegious, blasphemy, whatever. But if I'm Dan Gilbert, Stephen A., I would strongly consider possibly trading LeBron James. Hear me out.
No. I don't have to tell you. I don't hear you. I don't have to hear you out, Chris. Here's why. LeBron James has a no trade clause.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't do my homework.
He can't go and he can't go. You know, you can't move him without his permission, and he's not going to give you permission to move at this particular juncture in the season. He's not going to do it.
Okay,
that's the problem.
I wasn't ready. I apologize. Thank you.
Don't worry about it. No problem. Let's go to Andrew in L.A. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Stephen A., thank you.
Thank you.
Stephen A., it was going to be a good day, Stephen A., till the Cowboys start making news.
Yep.
You know I can't stand them Cowboys, Stephen A.
That's right.
They do not need to be talked about. They're irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
So thank
You're
you.
right. No, that's fair.
Thank you for going
fair.
to a better topic, Stephen A.
That's fair. You're absolutely right. They're not worthy of being talked about leading into the Super Bowl with their irrelevant selves. You're absolutely right. But they are relevant in the headlines. They ain't relevant on a football field, but they're relevant in the headlines. So I have no choice.
Yeah, you're right, Stephen A. But they just work our nerves, Stephen A. You know that.
Yes.
But back to the NBA.
Yep.
How do you see all this playing out, Stephen A., with the drama in Cleveland, the drama with the Bucks, everything going on in the NBA
I
right
don't
now?
know about the Bucks right now. I would tell you what I see with Cleveland is I see Cleveland getting it together enough to get to the finals and losing to Golden State again.
Okay.
That's what I see. They ain't winning the championship. That much I can tell you.
Okay.
But right now they're in danger of not coming out of the East. If the players were to begin today, Boston and Toronto would beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'd love to say the Wizards, but John Wall and Bradley Beal have got to get it together. They're the leaders of the team, and the fact is that you got too many guys that ain't showing up and producing to the level they should be. That's a problem.
Real quick, one more thing, Stephen A.
Yep.
You had Spence on last week. He looked great.
Okay.
But between him and Crawford, I think Crawford showed me more tools in his tool belt throughout his fight career.
Well, here's the deal. I think that Crawford is more skilled, but Errol Spence is an elite fighter. He's the IBF champion. I think he'd beat Keith Thurman. You got to remember, he's got less fights under his belt than Crawford. And you also got to remember this, too. He is bigger and stronger than Crawford. Bigger and stronger. Crawford is more skilled, but can he take the shots that Errol Spence would throw in his direction? That's where it becomes problematic. And that's what you got to deal with. Let's go to Paul in Long Island. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Paul?
How you doing there, Stephen A?
I'm good. Talk to me, man.
So I wanted to piggyback off those callers about the thing going on in Cleveland right now. What are your thoughts of possibly LeBron James moving over into OKC territory with Melo and Paul George and Russell Westbrook? Do you think there'd be a possibility they could work something out?
No. Repeat that. What are you asking me? LeBron?
When and if LeBron James leaves after this year,
yeah,
do you think there's a possibility of OKC, of him going to OKC and joining Paul George, Carmelo?
No. What I've heard is that if LeBron leaves Cleveland, Houston could potentially be a landing spot. And that's nothing definitive at all. But I heard Houston could be a landing spot where he'd join CP3 and James Harden.
Okay, yeah, that would be even better.
And I'm not in any way saying that it's definitely going to happen. I'm simply sharing with you what I heard as the most viable possibility for him. It would be Houston.
What do you think about his chances of going to LA?
I think they're slim. I don't think LA would be ready. I think he'd love to be in that mall. He doesn't want to live out there, even though he's got a house out there, because, you know, he's got aspirations. He's doing some good things in Hollywood and messing with folks with Simi Valley and all of that other stuff. But I do think that, as a team, the Lakers are just entirely too young. I think the only way that LeBron would end up in L.A. is if a star like Paul George came with him to couple with the young talent that they have. But it's still in all, I would see him willing to go to Houston with CP3 and James Harden before he did that. That's just my personal opinion. Nothing more.
All right, Stephen A. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. You do the same. Let's go to Tyrone in Georgia. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, Tyrone.
Hey, brother Stephen A., thanks for taking my call.
No problem.
Got a brief question and a brief statement.
Hurry up, man. Go ahead.
Okay. My statement is, not that you care I'm a little disappointed and a little hurt that you would make the statement that, quite frankly, wasn't successful as we wish it had been, because we black folks didn't support it. Because I don't see how you could say that.
Let me interrupt you and tell you exactly how I could say that. First of all, I'm not complaining about it. You have the right to support what you want to support. I'm telling you the numbers show that. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm not giving you emotion with that, Tyrone. I'm giving you fact. It was my show. You understand? I saw the numbers. And I'm telling you right now that if it had had more support, and I'm not saying I deserved it. Please don't get me wrong. I may not have deserved it. I thought it was a good show. That don't mean you thought it was a good show. Every black person I ran across thought it was a good show. But I'll tell you a quick story, Tyrone. Can I share this with you, brother? Can I share this with you?
Of course, bro.
My man, I had black folks coming up to me in the streets of New York, from New York to L.A. and beyond. Stephen A., I loved your show, man. I watch it every day. It's the best sports show on television. It had been canceled 5 months earlier.
I thought so.
You understand? And so what I'm saying to you is this. Remember that joke, and you'll appreciate this, Tyrone. Remember that joke Cedric the Entertainer told years ago? He said, man, you know, when Martin Lawrence show got canceled, you just woke up one day, the show was gone. He said, but when it was Friends, there's a month left in Friends. We're going to miss Friends. And, you know, there's like a 30-day window where everybody talking about the imminent departure of Friends on its way and all of that other stuff. The fact of the matter is that you had those folks supporting Friends. We want folks to have shows. But the bottom line is, they only last if we support those shows. I'm quite sure you're familiar with my brother Roland Martin on TV1, right? You know him, right, Tyrone? Yes, you saw his show got canceled. Excuse me, if the black community is supporting the show, does the show get canceled?
No.
So we just talk about numbers. I'm not judging anybody. You have a right, like any consumer, to support what you like and to not support what you don't like. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying at the end of the day, in the world of business, they crunch numbers. In our business, it's about revenue and ratings. And if you don't have the requisite support that generates that revenue due to those ratings, they're likely going to move in a different direction.
Do the numbers show that the African American community
yes, sir.
support this show?
Yes.
As well as
yes, it does. Absolutely. Oh, let me tell you something right now, man. Listen, we get support from everybody. But there is no question that the African-American community supports First Take. And I'm incredibly thankful for it. And they support this radio show. They ain't no me without y'all. But when it came to, quite frankly, that's not what happened back in 2006 and 2007. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, brother. I didn't know you actually knew what the numbers were.
Yo, yeah. I got it. Tyrone, I got a bit even better for you. I get numbers for every quarter hour. Every 15 minutes.
Okay.
All right. So go ahead and make your other point real quick, man.
Well, my other point is that we need to see you down on the yard, man, at Winston-Salem State University a little more often, brother.
Well, you know, Tyrone, I come about 2 or 3 times a year. You know, and obviously, you know, I donate and I contribute to the school. That's my alma mater. That was my mission for Coach Gaines. That's all he's asked of me to do. And I'm going to always do that. I come and speak when I'm invited. Dr. Blunt, Dr. Sadler, Professor Brookshaw back in the day, Professor Larry Little and the crew. I mean, come on, man. That's home. That's my alma mater. I always show up. I'm going to show up again.
Mine too, brother. And we proud of you, brother.
Appreciate you, man. I appreciate the love. You know that. Thanks so much. And call back anytime. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. More of your calls to close out the show in a minute. You're listening live to Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who switch to Progressive can save an average of $620. Just wanted to make sure you knew that. Before I get on out of here, get to your phone calls in just a minute. Remember, make your points quick or I will make them for you. Let's go to Reginald in New Jersey. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, Reg.
Stephen A., what's going on,
Reg,
man?
can you hear me?
Yes,
Reg, I cannot hear you.
I'm here. You hear me?
I can't hear Reggie.
Hello, I'm here.
Let's
Hello.
go to Bugsy. Reggie, are you there?
Hello?
Reggie, are you there? Bugsy. Bugsy, are you there?
Yeah, this is Bugsy. What's going on, my man?
Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, I'm sick and tired of Cleveland always blaming Kevin Love. How about let's blame Dwayne Wade? You had Isaiah Thomas come out last week and said that they don't practice like Boston did.
Okay.
If you remember from the Bulls last year, didn't Rajon Rondo come out and dog some of the veterans?
Yes, he did. He dogged some of the veterans and said that D. Wade and Jimmy Butler were pointing fingers.
And I think it's D. Wade. He don't want to practice.
Well, listen, I think at his age and with his experience, I don't think you anticipate him doing a lot of practice. And since he's on the second unit, I don't think it's that level of urgency. I think it's egos. I think it's agendas. That's why Tyronn Lue alluded to it more than a week ago.
And one more thing with the coaches. Jason Kidd got fired. Yeah, they're only 2 games above 500. But what did he do with the Nets? Why should he deserve to stay coaching?
Well, it's not a matter of whether or not he should deserve to stay, because I don't think you're going to see people that are going to be in an uproar for his dismissal. But why was the uproar? Why did the uproar exist for Luke Walton? Why has there not been an uproar? Why is guys like Fred Hoiberg and others able to retain their jobs? And I'm not advocating that anybody be fired, because I understand there are mitigating circumstances in every situation. But fair is fair. There are people that are employed that are doing a worse job than Jason Kidd was doing in Milwaukee, and that is undeniable.
They should have kept Tom Thibodeau.
Who?
The Bulls.
I agree. Totally agree with you. Totally agree. Bugsy, I got to run. I appreciate the call, though, buddy. Thank you so much. AJ in Ohio, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead real quick, AJ.
Hey, what up, Stephen A? Quick question for you. Us fans here in Cleveland have become accustomed to LeBron and these midseason antics. How is this January, February soap opera different than anything else?
Because of all the drama surrounding the other players other than LeBron? It would be one thing if it were LeBron, but it's the collateral damage, his relationship with Dan Gilbert and the fact that they're on opposite ends of the page, that what it's caused. That's what's very, very alarming about this.
I always feel like he's always got something with another player, whether it be Kyrie, Kevin Love, someone else in the past, and there's always that Dan Gilbert factor where there's a little bit of mix-up with him and they're just not on the same page. And it creates for good stories middle of the NBA season, but when it comes down to it, they make the finals. I think that's what it's coming down to.
I think what you have is a situation where people are wondering whether or not they're going to make the finals because they look worse. Golden State clearly is better, but not to mention the fact that Boston and Toronto are better. DeMar DeRozan's got a jump shot now. That's something to consider, but let's talk about that tomorrow, AJ. I appreciate the call. Let's go to Bill in Boston. You're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Bill, go ahead.
Stephen, real quick, your opinion on the Patriots NFL football team with the discord going on supposedly between Mr. Kraft, Mr. Belichick, and Mr. Brady. Your thoughts?
I think that egos come into the equation when you enjoy the level of success that they've enjoyed over the last decade plus. But at the end of the day, you saw them all hugging for a reason because every component needs one another. Tom Brady needs Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick needs Tom Brady. Both of them need Robert Kraft to cut those checks and to provide them with the level of support and support and the foundation that they need and that they have thrived off of. And as a result of that, that's why they're going to their 8th Super Bowl, because the 3-headed monster that they are is just sublime. They're just something special, and it's something that cannot be ignored. I appreciate the call, Bill. I got to get on out of here. We got to get on out of here. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow, 22 hours from now. Until then, this is Stephen A. signing off. Peace and love.
That's